Good afternoon, special start time. Welcome to the Paradigm Shift, episode 186. Big energy today. Big day of the year, Yom Kippur. And we also have not one, but two unbelievable, dynamic, beautiful soul guests. So there's that. Juicy Joe. Unbelievable to see you, pal. Big Dave, I see you. I'll bring you on right now. Let's get this party started. Let's get absolutely bananas. Let us know how you guys are doing, how you feel in the chats, any questions. Let's make this as electric as possible. And thank you, Uncle Dave, for the special stuff. Uncle Dave? How?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There he is.
Want you to light at me?
Dave? Are you there?
There he is.
I can't see you, but I can feel your energy.
I'm at a club.
You're at a club? Very nice. I don't think we can see you. I think Dave is traveling, and I'm not 100% sure where he is, but I'm looking forward to finding out. There he is.
Okay. Hey, buddy.
Is that
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Oh.
Hey, Dave. Jodi, I
No.
see you. We're going to bring on less than five.
All right, bring him on, all right?
Can you
carry
hear me
the
or no?
carry the load.
Okay,
I can hear
I
you,
will.
yes.
Okay, no problem. I'm going to bring on Jodi right now.
Yeah, why don't you step out?
Where are you, Dave?
Dubai. I'm in Dubai. I appreciate everyone's patience, but I'm participating. I'm
No
not missing.
No worries at all. I got this. Love you. There she is.
Hey guys,
Hey, you. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. It's great to see you again. Much better in person, though.
Yes, it is. I feel like I already knew you, but seeing you in person, and congratulations on your marriage.
Thank you.
Yeah, all good things for you. I'm happy for you.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
my co-host is in Dubai right now, Uncle Dave, and he's
Oh,
out with the service, but we're going to make the most of it anyway.
okay.
And thank you
Uncle,
for hopping on.
Uncle Dave.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Most
Can you hear me,
importantly,
Craig?
yes. We can kind of hear him, but we can't see him.
When he said he's in a club, what does that mean?
I think he's literally in a club.
Like a nightclub?
It looks like that. Can you see anything on his screen?
No, it's a restaurant.
I see blue light.
It's a restaurant with it's a restaurant with club music. So I apologize, Julie.
No worries.
Our plane was delayed. We didn't think we'd be at dinner still.
That's okay. That's okay. But Jodi, before we dive in, how are you?
I'm doing great. I've got a lot of balls up in the air as usual, still working on my podcast and trying to help as many women as I possibly can. You know, I'm just
To be honest with you, you don't just help women because I'm inspired by you.
Thank
And
you.
yes, and one of the things that you love to talk about is how age is an inside job. And I'd love for you to unpack that. I think it's so beautiful, and I think it's important for everybody.
Yeah, it's you know, when I take my walks with my dog, I have a million thoughts. Some people have that time in the shower. I'm usually rushing in the shower. But when I walk with her, I have all this time to think. And it really comes down to how young do you want to feel? How good do you want to feel? And when I look around and I see everybody around me, mostly in their 30s, 40s, and there are a few of us in our 60s walking around with our dogs, I see the vibrancy in everyone, and it really is how old or how young do you want to feel? And that is where it becomes an inside job. How much work do you want to do on yourself so you can live the life that you deserve and you actually desire? you know, and so much of that, you know, when I had Dave on my show, we talked about vibrating in a way, like vibrating higher, not with your vibrator. And, but that's always a good thing too.
Although we had, that was not a conversation. Okay.
We were not talking about a vibrator. We were just talking about high vibes. Yeah, that came out wrong, but you get it. So it really is, every conversation you have, it's either going to elevate your vibration or take you down. And for those people who take down your vibe, you really need to move away from them, because it's not in alignment with what you want in life. And that has so much to do with aging. Aging is an inside job. It is an attitude. Those are like things we hear all the time, but it's a mindset. It's an attitude. It's always been that way. And I get all the time, oh, I thought you were 45. And it's not about the way I look, because from, you know, I was out with my daughter who, you know, who's 35, and two guys came over to talk to us, and they were like, oh, we thought you, she immediately has to say, this is my mom. She's 63. I go, Alyssa, why do you always have to say that? Like, I'm not hiding it, but they're like, we thought you were like 45. And so she's like, well, how old did you think I was? Yeah, they think we're friends or sisters. So it's just an attitude. You feel that energy from people.
I love why you're unpacking that, because this actually just came through just now. I think that as the age on the calendar goes higher, that can tend to be a limiting belief for people, because if they hit a certain age, maybe they think it's too late, right? Or whatever the case, and they use that as some sort of crutch or ceiling, if you will. But for you, it's all about how you're feeling, and an attitude has really nothing to do with the calendar.
Nothing. It's just another number, and you appreciate it, and you become wiser because of it. Because in the 63 years, almost 64 years I've been alive, I've gone through a lot, and I'm going through a life transition right now. And there was a quote. I've been reading this book. Have you ever read this book, Finding Muchness?
No, it looks great.
It's a very cute book that I bought for my daughters, and I've been reading. And there was a quote I wanted to share with you guys today. Stand up for what you believe, even if your legs are shaky. Being brave and being afraid often occur at the same time. And I think that often with women my age or a little bit younger, let's just say postmenopausal women over 55, they feel like they need to stay where they are, and they don't. They don't have to struggle through menopause. They don't have to struggle with a mediocre relationship, and they can find that joy and that love and joy. It's really the joy in life, right?
100%. This is so good. And that kind of ties into a part of your brand, which is being fearlessly authentic. And
exactly.
Not being afraid.
Exactly.
Having afraid and brave, having courage.
It really is. And everybody I've had on my show, including yourself and Dave, as I mentioned, talks about how they've overcome obstacles that they have not allowed them to stop them. You know, we all have those setbacks. And we can look at those setbacks and say, I'm going to let that stop me. I'm going to let that obstacle be in the way of achieving greatness that I know that I have from within at any age or any stage of my life. So it's people like you that inspire me to say, well, look what they're doing. Look what I can do. And I find inspiration from both of you to know that I can bring more to the table every single time. And living a mediocre life is nothing that any of us should ever tolerate from ourselves, because and that comes from loving ourselves first. I'm going through it all right now. So.
No, this is great, and it's perfect timing. I get this feeling that you kind of like being underestimated.
Oh my God, how did you know that? Yes, it's been the story of my life.
Yes.
I cannot believe you picked that up.
Yes. You thrive on that.
Can I share a story about that?
Please.
Okay. So when I competed in fitness shows for 10 years, you know, I know that my coach believed in me, but I was first started competing at 47 against 35-year-olds. So I was, you know, it was difficult, but I didn't let that stop me. I didn't allow that to be an obstacle. Eventually, I spoke to the person who um, facilitated all of these, and I said, you know, there's a lot of women backstage who are over 45, and there's a big difference between a 35 and a 45-year-old woman. And I think there are a lot of us that would like to be able to compete on a level playing field. You know, they didn't even take our heights into consideration back then too. So in all the other ages, it was different heights. And then you got to be an old lady over 45, and they've said, well, you, Jodi, at 5 feet tall, you're going to compete against a girl that's 5'9". So in heels, she's probably 6 feet, and you'll be 5'4". Anyway, my point was, once we started competing in the 45 and over, there would be a line of us standing, waiting to go on stage. And we would all check each other out, of course, but I was always competing with myself. But I know now, and I knew then, that every single woman were like, she's not going to ever win. She's not lean enough. She's not tall enough. She's not this enough. And I just thought, just wait till you see me walk on stage. And every single time it happened, the women backstage would say, I didn't know that you would walk like that or have that presence on stage. Wow, we need to watch out for you. So yes, that I realized that that I became much more aware of it at that time. I was just like,
I love it.
yeah.
I think that, you know, trying to prove people wrong should never be the number one source of inspiration.
No.
But hell, I mean, if we can use that convert that into even another ascension of inspiration, then power to it. I remember Michael Jordan in practice used to like make up arguments with his teammates or with his opponent just to take it to another level. That was the number one source, but anything that gives us a little bit extra of an edge. And it's just it's a gratifying feeling when people don't think that you can rise to the occasion. You're not setting out there like to prove them wrong. You're just trying to prove yourself right. That you are more than capable and you are so much more powerful than you realize.
Yeah, people realize that after they start working with me, or if I'm dating somebody, they're like, you know what, you're a lot smarter than you let on. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to share all my superpowers with you. I'll use them when I need them. And how did you feel that way? How did you get that vibe from me? Is this something that you did also? Do you feel like people underestimated you as well?
I think now probably not, because I've done so many things that were so far out of reach and I've accomplished them. So I don't think many people underestimate me today, but I think back in the day for sure. And I definitely leverage that to take it to even another level for sure.
Yeah, and it's just following your instincts. And that's what I want so many of the listeners to hear, is that if you feel that something is stopping you so hard, like stop for a second and think about where this is aligning with you. And if you feel that aligns with you, so more so in your gut, that it's your gut instinct versus your head and your heart, because that's where it all gets very emotional. But where if you follow your gut and you're like, this feels right, this decision feels easy, I'm going here, I'm not going to work with that person. You need to follow your gut. That's why gut health is so important. I mean, in so many ways, but to follow our gut instincts, I feel has always been the thing that I have fought against, but that I'm leaning as I get older, and I know that my gut instincts are right, lean into them, and I encourage everyone as they become wiser to do that.
Your intuition is the most powerful thing that you have, because it's like, when people say divine downloads, divine intervention, like, where do you think that comes from? That comes from source, creator, God, whatever your thing is, but we get to be the channel to allow those to come through. And if anyone's ever doubting that that's a real thing, or spirituality or something bigger, I would ask you guys this, to our listeners and community. Have you ever had an intuition or a gut feeling and then went against it and it bit you in the butt? Well, I'm sure we've all experienced that. Right. So what was that gut instinct?
Right. It was the fear and the ego that allowed us to not do it, even though it was such a hard decision. When decisions become super hard, like, should I work with this person? Should I take this person on as a client? Should I travel to go to this networking event? Whatever it is, if it feels really hard, think about, is that fear? Is that ego? Or is your gut really telling you it's time to go? And I started leaning into that a lot more when I went on a retreat this past June. And I just said, this is ridiculous. I'm not, like, how much is this going to change my life? And it did.
Yeah.
Because
I love it.
I leaned into my instincts. And, you know, I would have told anybody, like, I would have never learned as much as I did, but I did. And then every networking event, look at it as a new person to meet. Don't let the fear stop you, because when I met you in person over the summer, I didn't know too many people, and I didn't let the fear stop me. You know, I was texting my daughters on the way, oh my God, I don't know anybody. I know Craig, I know Jay. But you walk in and it's just, everybody has an open heart. So that's why the alignment is so important.
100%.
Yeah.
We're going to bring on our second guest, but if you have 10 minutes, I'd love for you to hang out.
Yeah, I would love it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you celebrating Yom Kippur?
I am. Are you?
Yeah, I just got back from the ceremony. Are you hungry? Are you fasting?
I'm starving. I'm starving.
Aaron.
Hello. How are you? I'm finding a nice spot to post up at. I think back here would be good.
My pleasure.
How are you guys?
We're doing great. We're super pumped to have you on. Jodi is now my co-host because my real co-host Meltzer is in Dubai and his service wasn't working.
Perfect.
So we're super pumped to have you. Where are you dialing in from?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Nice
hell
to
yeah.
meet you too.
For
What was
our
the retreat that
listeners-
you did? What was the retreat you did in June?
I went to the British Virgin Islands, to Ariel, and it's a private island owned by this woman, Brittany Turner, and it was about becoming present. So 2 of the days we spent in silence. It was mind-blowing. I've never journaled so much in my entire life.
I love that. That's fun.
Yeah,
So you did 2 days. Was it like noble silence? Is that what they call it? Where you like don't look at each other or anything?
No, we were able to look at each other. You know, we got a few laughs in on the side. We cheated a little bit. But, you know, eating in silence was awkward at first. It was 2 days of silence, 5 days for the retreat. And just you learn so much about yourself, even if you live alone. And you think, well, who do I talk to? I talk to my dog. I talk on podcasts. But then when you can't talk at all. You just have to go inside so much. It was great. I would tell everybody to go to this retreat.
I recommend doing it for longer. Go deeper with it, because the first 2 days I think is off. I mean, you can have an amazing experience regardless, and I think oftentimes things work based off of like the container allotted. So if you only have 2 days, then by the end of the second day, it's almost as though the end of the 5th day of something else.
Right.
But if you do, like I've done a handful of different things like that, like Vipassana and darkness retreats and whatever. And the first couple days is kind of like the unwinding, unspooling of all of the different things. And then getting into 3 and 5 and 7, there's other layers. So for you to experience so much after the 2 days, my guess is if you do like a Vipassana or something like that, you'd probably have that, and there'd be even other new layers. You'd be like, oh my God, you'd probably be even more excited about it, I guess. That's amazing that you're into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't want to stop. I didn't want my devices back. They took our devices from us. They're like, Jodi, do you have a laptop in your room? I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah. By the end of like the second day, it was the time where you're kind of like,
yes,
okay. You know, so then it's like, keep fucking going. You know,
right.
I'm like, see where you end up.
Don't give me that phone back, please. No, I don't.
You did the hard part.
What's that, Craig?
I said sometimes if you want to go higher, you got to go deeper.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I didn't want to leave the island.
Yeah, I get that. Well,
I love the alignment here. No pun intended.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, do a deep dive, play catch up. I think we'll just have an unbelievable conversation. I know you talk a lot about aligning your body with your mind. The good thing about that is I think that's relevant to everybody. How can you align your body with your mind, and how is that helpful?
Wow. So I just got back from retreat as well. I just did a 2 week ayahuasca retreat, which was a lot of kind of purging, I guess, literally and figuratively. And we did bufo during that experience as well, which is an animal medicine as opposed to plant medicine. And in that experience, I don't know if people listening to this would poo-poo on something like that or have interest in something like that or whatever. But in that experience, there's a really beautiful opportunity to kind of get out of the way of yourself and realize there's a lot of masking and a lot of bracing and protecting that we do in our day-to-day lives. And a lot of that comes down to just having a desire to be loved, having a desire to be like seen for the person that will be received and loved. It's like childhood stuff. And to have the opportunity to sit with yourself in silence and meditation is a great way to do it. Or like the plant medicine or psychedelic path can be, or therapy or a relationship, or anything that puts you into like deep vulnerability within yourself that allows you to be able to emote stored feelings and sensations that you've probably been bottling up for a very long time. For people that understand this experience, they're like nodding their head and they're like, yes, like for sure. And for people that don't understand this experience, they just haven't had that experience yet. But to be able to be in a space where you can be vulnerable and release tensions that you might have been holding within your shoulders or your throat or your jaw or your tongue or your eyes because you're staring into the screen all day long and you're focused and contracting your ciliary muscles and you're putting yourself into a more sympathetic state, and you only realize why you're stressed because you just think it's you. So having the spaciousness to release some of that stuff just from like a subjective experiential type lens, people that have had that have a good cry, any of that stuff. What you'll find after that is your body feels lighter, you feel taller, you feel like suddenly you can get a full exhalation, you can breathe. And that's because your physical body is a one-to-one relationship to your autonomic nervous system and your emotional body and all the deeper aspects. So the physical vessel that we're dancing around in is an expression of your internal landscape.
That's beautifully said at the end. Physical vessel is a reflection of your internal, what did you say?
Landscape.
Love it.
As above, so below.
So below. I'm just curious. I know it's probably personal, but is there any big revelation that you're opening to sharing that you received from the experience that was maybe eye-opening?
Yeah, there's a bunch. I mean, typically with things like that, like each night that you do it, it's kind of usually has like a different flavor of sorts. But one thing would be like holding on to a lot of fear, and that's something that if people are really honest with themselves, for the most part, maybe I'm more scared than most people, or hold on to more fear than most people. But there's a lot of like butthole clenching and kind of like fist clenching and kind of trap clenching, kind of like you're waiting for impact in your daily life. And that's why we save a lot of money and don't spend it on things that we love, or people that we love, and go on the trips that we want to do. And, we live in a culture that kind of really incentivizes saving, and holding back. And it's all just the way like economics work. Economics could change really quickly where suddenly inflation isn't going up, where it actually makes sense to be investing. It could go the other direction. And it could actually make more sense to get rid of your money now because it's going to be, well, I guess that would be if hyperinflation was happening, it's coming, then you want to get rid of your money as soon as possible. If there was no places to invest your money where you would make more money and your money was actually going to go down in value, no matter what your investment was, it would completely change the psyche of Western culture, humanity, whoever's participating in that economy, to suddenly like, oh my God, I need to get rid of this stuff and I need to have experiences. But the way that we're spooled from a young age, which I think saving, investing, and stability and safety, all that stuff is incredibly important. But it's just like understand the underpinnings, like deep down, we're in this psyche or mentality of we'll live after we retire. And we're terrified. Like most people, whatever the statistic is, like 45% or whatever the thing is, people can't afford like a surprise $700 bill. It's not exact, but you probably heard something along those lines. So many people are in this place of like, ooh, ooh, from a financial perspective. Then there's the next thing of like relational stuff. How many people are in a relationship where they don't really truly feel safe, and so they're holding that fear of, what if she cheats on me? What if they don't love me? What if, I don't show up? What if I don't get this job promotion and she leaves me? What if I'm not fit enough? All of those things are micro fears that we're holding on to that actually end up being burdens and weights that push the world away from us, and so that would be something that I had as an experience, again, subjective and of one experience, was just holding on to a whole shit ton of fear, that fear arising as fear, which sucks and it's scary. And then it kind of working itself up in all sorts of different stories and things of me, like, I need to get the heck out of here. I'm terrified. And then that being able to actually like move through my system. If people have experience with ayahuasca, it's really hard to describe. So, it's as though it captures these emotional experiences within the self and then crystallizes them into like puke and diarrhea and laughing and sweating, and it just gets out of you. It's very interesting. But I could literally feel that my dog's going crazy right now. I could literally feel that fear go from in my mind to in my body to out of my body to feeling at ease. And that's something that you wouldn't need ayahuasca to do. You could do that through meditation. Most people that are like really like legit meditators would like poo-poo on ayahuasca or psychedelics or whatever, which is great. I don't think it matters. All that matters is just like start getting interested in your internal world. So you don't need to necessarily go to a retreat center and like drink some scary substance to have these experiences. You can just, if you sit with yourself long enough, and I'll shut up after this. There's like in Vipassana meditation, they call it samskaras that end up coming to the surface, and those samskaras, it's Sanskrit for impression, and so we have these impressions within ourselves in different forms of traumas, and trauma is just some type of information that we weren't able to process at the moment, so we store it down instead of actually like moving through it. If you sit with yourself in silence long enough, they will start to come to the surface to be processed, because that's, your body wants to heal. Your body's a natural healing mechanism. Lucy, you got to calm down. Hey, settle.
What kind of dog is Lucy?
She's a Malinois German Shepherd, but we haven't gotten. I need to take her on a bike ride after this because she's like completely going nuts right now, and she's probably excited because you guys are here.
Boy, she
Hi,
feels
Lucy.
the energy.
Yeah.
She does.
Yeah, she's a sweetie.
Aww,
Oh,
We're both dog
hi,
lovers here too.
Lucy, say hi.
This is a very dog-friendly
Oh,
show.
good.
Yes,
I love that.
yes.
That's
My
good.
dog is laying on the bed right now. I can't believe she hasn't come out here.
Oh, nice. That's good. Yeah, hopefully Lucy doesn't freak out more. Yeah, throw the ball for her or something.
I wanted to ask you, first of all, thank you for sharing about that. It seems very expansive. One of the things that I saw that you'd like to talk about is how embracing the difficult situation in life has really increased your confidence. And maybe the story that you just shared was stepping into a little bit of difficult because all the fear pops up, but then you're able to get it aside. How has embracing difficult in other situations increased your confidence?
I think that'd be another thing that's like very experiential for a person that has overcome anything and realized like the freedom on the other side of that, and realized that they've been holding themselves back, or I've been holding myself back with this fear of what if I can't do it. And I think ultimately most things come back to like, what if I'm not like good enough, which ultimately translates to like, what if I'm not lovable, which ultimately translates to like, I'm not a part of the tribe and I'm safe, which ultimately translates like, I'm going to die alone. It's a very common fear. And so moving through anything that's really, really challenging that a person doesn't believe they have the capacity to get through, every time a person does that, actually Huberman was talking about a specific part in the brain. I don't remember the name of the part right now, but there's a specific part in the brain that actually gets exercised and starts to develop more gray matter around that space every time you actually push yourself and finish and complete a task. And when you don't complete a task, you kind of get like an atrophy of that aspect of yourself. And so I think that anytime a person can put themselves into a position to be able to move past an obstacle that they can just barely get over, like if you're a good coach, which I assume both of you guys probably have some aspect of coaching in your world, Or you have a coach could be like a dog trainer or a you know, kids or whatever the thing is. The term for it is zone of proximal development. That's like the psychological term for it. But what you want to do is you want to place your dog, your kid, yourself, your student, whatever, in that zone of proximal development as much as possible, and place and provide them with obstacles that they can just barely get over, but they're able to get over. And if you do that, you're a good coach and a good teacher. If you give them too easy obstacles, because you just don't have the toolbox to be able to provide them terrain that's really interesting enough, then you're not going to be a very interesting coach or teacher. You might be loving, but you're like too loving. It's like too feminine, you know. And if you provide them, you know, same thing. You don't have like fluency to provide them with architecture for them to be able to like just barely make it over. So all you have is like really hard tasks, and then they fail. Then they learn that they're a loser, and I don't want to come back. And so if you can keep somebody in that sweet spot of that proximal development place where you're repeatedly throughout your day, you're just barely making it over, goals that you're kind of not sure if you could achieve, but you ended up doing it. It has both like a neurological impact where you can actually see gray matter form and whatever the heck that part of the brain is called. You ask Huberman. And I think just from a felt experience and just like logic and intuition, you kind of get that, like, oh yeah, like that's a good idea, you know. So I think that would be something that would, you know, actually be maybe supportive or like didactic or instructive, is try to place yourself or anybody that you care about that you're trying to, you know, better or anything of the sort in that place of zone of proximal development, because it actually is neurological change and just makes you feel better about yourself.
Love it. First of all, thank you both. This awesome conversation. Before we land the plane, what are you guys personally most excited about, and how can our community potentially support or get involved? Let's start with Jodi.
I didn't hear what you said.
What are you most excited about right now?
I'm excited about continuing my podcast and training women one-on-one, continuing. I'd put that off to the side for a while when I closed my studio, and getting back into that and having that experience with women again, one-on-one. And I have my 5 to Thrive going on right now, which is 5 women, 5 weeks, giving them achievable goals, as you were talking about, achievable goals, so they feel good about the experience. And then again, meeting incredible people like yourselves and having them on my show, Fearlessly Authentic, because that has been my goal my entire life, is to help people overcome their fears to live their most authentic life. It's not always easy, but we try every day.
Love it. Aaron, how about you, brother?
Yeah, I also host a podcast. It's called Align Podcast. Done that for the last decade or so. So it's been, it's been a really cool experience to get to connect with people in there. And if people are interested in, I don't know if people on here are familiar with any of the stuff I do, but what we're doing now presently, most of my background is largely much more around like movement and training, and, you know, spent the last year working with Aaron Rodgers, football player guy, did like his rehab for his Achilles and all the things, lived at his house, went through all this process, worked with a lot of like kind of bougie, fancy people, but then also provides programs for people at home. And, you know, so if people have interest in any of this stuff that I provide, from the way of like, if you have pain in your body, you want to feel more aligned in your physical body, more supple in your body.
They all use that.
Yeah, if you would just DM me, that would probably be the easiest thing instead of like saying a link or whatever. So just my IG is here, Aaron Alexander. If you have interest in any of the stuff that I offer, just send me a DM. We're launching a breathing program that will be out in like a month and a half or so, which breaks down structure mechanics of breathing, effective respiration, and then also goes into exercises for down regulation, how to calm your nervous system, how to just like manage your own nervous system, and then also up regulation. And then we go into anatomy and physiology, that like what someone would actually need to know, baseline what someone would need to know to be articulate and not just communicating, but also internalizing like their understanding of why breathing matters. You know, so people have interest in breathing or making their joints work better, or just, you know, whatever, want to send me pictures of their eyes, you know, or their back. I love pictures of lats. If you want to send me pictures of lats, elbows, any of that stuff, I'm really into elbows. You send me photos. That'd be cool. DM me there, Alexander.
I think we should all be a little bit more interested in breathing. Myself, so
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
for taking the time, and also for the great work that you're doing in the world. Genuinely, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And I look forward to
Thanks,
online.
Craig. Nice to meet you.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.
Bye-bye.